Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. I am so excited to have this conversation with each of you. Before we get started, I really just want to take an opportunity for you to introduce yourselves. Please share with us your name and what role you play as a 45 to 55-year-old woman. Christy, you want to start?
Awesome. Hello, Tony and Elaine Nicole. So excited to have this conversation as well. My name is Christy Little Jones. I've been married 18 years. I have a 15, 16, and 17-year-old. I also have a man, 35-year-old man and his wife. But I totally believe that it's my purpose to be a marriage and family champion. I'm the creator and host of the Wife Wisdom podcast, where I really help women who desire to be married or women who want to thrive as a wife or even want to stay married to cultivate the heart of a wife. And so I'm super passionate about helping really prepare engaged couples for marriage and married couples in crisis fight to stay married. So that is my charge or assignment in the world.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. How about you, Elaine? Let's hear a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I am 50 and I live in Denver, Colorado. And I feel like my role is changing a lot right now. I am married. He's my second husband. And he has children, so I'm also a stepmother.
Nice.
And I am currently writing a memoir.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for joining us all the way from Colorado. Thank you. And Nicole?
Hello, ladies. It's so great to see you. Thank you, Tony, for having me today. I am Nicole. I am 52 years old, almost. I'm already getting myself there. A few more weeks and I'll be 52. Wow. I am a mom of 3 dynamic teenage girls. I am a new single. I was married for 13 years and I am currently going through separation and divorce. And I believe my role that I play right now at this point in my life is really knowing how to embrace the art of beginning again. And I think that's it is an art. It's an anointing that you can receive at this time in your life when you embrace the fact that purpose was given before anything happened in your life. And so for me right now, I've started My Tilted Crown Productions, which is an extension of the call on my life to be a woman of love. So I want to empower other women who are going through this same situation to know that when life gives you a gut punch and it tilts your crown a little bit, that you can still run this journey authentically, on purpose, and with intention, holding your head up high and loving yourself through it. So that's my purpose.
So clearly I'm here with 3 dynamic and powerful women, and I'm so excited about it. You know, one of the reasons why I started the Slaying at 50 channel is because I have worked with women of all ages in many capacities, whether it's as in spiritual growth and development, emotional healing, health and fitness training, or in beauty. I have been working with women for years. And one of the things that I have come to notice and hear time and time again is their struggle with aging, right? Especially in the beauty industry. I've been in the beauty industry for pretty much more than half of my life. And it is such a struggle for women when it comes to aging. And so I really, and not only for women, it's
right.
an issue too. It's a issue too, but we're women. So we're talking to women at this time, but there is something about the age 50 where I feel like it's really, the struggle becomes a little bit more intense, or the shift or the need to try to be better or get it together. You know, like 50 is coming, I got to get it together now. I got to make it right now because I don't want to, you know, get to 50 and not be what I feel I should be or look the way I want to look. And I always hear this thing about 50. And what happens that I found too is that a lot of people, even though they want to make that change and they want to make the shift, the habits that they've created for 40 something years really makes that difficult. And so I really wanted to create a space, and this channel is that space where we can give that age group the better information and encouragement and empowerment to kind of navigate that stage of their life and help really feel empowered to take their life, their body, and their sexy back. And so here we are to really have this candid conversation about the nays and yays of this age group, and maybe even encourage someone, like Nicole said, that you can start over, that it's a new beginning, and hopefully create a community that is going to encourage each other to live the next 50 years of our lives amazingly. And that's what I'm hoping to do in this conversation, to get it started, at least in this conversation. So let's get it started. My first question for you ladies is this: at what age did you become more conscious of your aging? Let's start with Chris. Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So it's so funny because I am 50. I turned 50 in 2020. And I honestly, up until that point, never saw myself over 40. Like I really, people are like, oh my gosh, I'm aging in my back. Maybe little things here and there, but it really wasn't until 50 that I really noticed like the lines on my eyes and like the achiness when I wake up and, like my bed is too soft. I need a harder bed. And, because prior to that, I really thought, okay, no big deal. Maybe I should, outside of the perimenopause weight gain, right? The perimenopause weight gain was, something that came around 45. And, it was something that was so much harder to lose before, but I never really attributed it to me aging. It was more so, this is just perimenopause, like pre-menopause weight gain. Oh, it'll come off. And then I turned 50 and I'm like, wow. Wow.
How about you? How about you? No, I don't want to cut you off. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
About 50. Awesome.
Yeah.
And you, Elaine, what age did it become like, oh wow, I'm getting older?
I'm so glad, Christy, that you brought up menopause, because I went into menopause when I was 42.
Oh wow.
I didn't have a mother that really talked to me about that stuff. So my first experience was waking up just drenched. And I thought I had cancer. I thought something was wrong with me. I had no idea what. It was just so weird, and so for me too, it was wow, I thought this happened to older people, and because I never saw myself as being old. I always played sports. I went to Soul Cycle 4 times a week. I was very active and all of those things. And so I think that's probably what it was for me too. I think when I was about 47, that's when I went into full on menopause, and I started noticing a difference in my hair and in my skin. And, there's so many different pieces of it. Right. And so, I started making very conscious choices to start eating more healthy. I too had the weight gain, which was really upsetting to me, because like I was not comfortable. And it's weird because I wasn't trying to act like, oh, I'm so fat. I knew I wasn't fat, but I wasn't comfortable in my body. And then, honestly, I really started thinking about like, what do I believe in and what do I stand for? Because up until that point, I just worked really hard to try to stand out. And the biggest shift for me was that, I did so much before this point in my life. So what do I do now? How do I take everything I've learned you know, on emotionally, intellectually, all of it, and contribute in a unique way. But still be on the path of learning more, because I think that what happens is a lot of times as we get older, we don't keep learning. And I think that that's really important. And so, you know, turning 50 for me has really been all about, like, honestly, trying not to care what people think as much, because I have my network of friends. I know who I want to be around. I don't need for everyone to like me anymore. And learning that that is actually a sign of wisdom. You know, not everybody's going to like me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's
that's
so
the
funny. I'm
biggest
glad you
reason.
said that, right? Because small little joke, I posted the other day because I saw it on Instagram. Someone posted, and I was like, I have to repost this. And it says, not everybody's gonna like me. That's okay. I can't force you to have good taste. I was like, oh, I'm definitely
Love
taking
it.
that
I
one.
love it.
So it's
Yes.
okay. They don't have good taste. If they don't like you,
Exactly.
there's
They're
nothing you can do
lost.
about that. That is so good. Nicole, what about you? At what age did you start feeling like, oh, wow, this is real?
Like today? No, I'm just kidding.
You got this invitation? No.
When you sent me this invitation, right? I'm 50, really? No, seriously. For me, it started when I wanted to get back into the workforce. So I would say at least about 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
I never saw myself as old ever. Like, I still think I'm 29. My kids think I'm about 30. So I'm
Yeah,
really
keep it
holding
like
on to that mentality. And I'm like, I think I really got to I got to get it together here. But it's when I started to look for a job and I wanted to get back into my industry of being a recruiter. And just so you know, the world does not think you're cool anymore after 30. They just really don't. You can have great experience. I think what happens is a lot of people get in their jobs and they stay there. So they, you know, they promote and they progress forward in their jobs and their careers, and then they go on and do other things. But when you're starting over, and you have to do that over again, you're now in with sort of the young ones, you know, these millennials, or those who are really progressive in your thought patterns and the way that you see things is really kind of old school, the way you were professionally developed. And so for me, it really came as a big shock to me, like, wow, I am no longer the cool kid. I'm in a school of some bigger fish now. Even though I'm a little more mature, have great experience, I'm not flowing the same way. So it really was an eye-opening experience to me that I am definitely maturing. And the fact that I saw some crepiness in the picture. You know, Zoom is not good for you all the time. And you're always kind of like, what's that? Like, and Marco Polo, that's terrible. But I'm always like, oh my gosh, my neck. So yeah.
that is so interesting. It's interesting you touched on that, Nicole, because I do some HR consulting, and you'll be surprised that we are really entering into a stage now where I'm not blankets, this is not a blanket statement over all millennials, but the inconsistency and the lack of reliability that they have displayed, many of them in the workplace, is making that the Gen Xer more appealing in these days. So be hopeful and continue to know that there's definitely a place for you, because people are looking for more mature in wisdom and experience and loyalty and reliability. And that is what you do offer that sometimes a younger generation does not. So be encouraged with that for sure. And so for me, you know, you guys had such deep and profound like things that made y'all think about when you were aging. Let me tell you, for real, when I started seeing these gray hairs pop up around my hairline and these lines under my eyes and the lack of firmness in my skin, I was like, oh, okay. And it's so interesting because, again, I've been in that industry for years, and I've heard women really, I mean, to the point of depression when they came to see me about, you know, it's another year and this, you know, and they're aging and they're like really down about it. And at the time, you know, I'm like 30 something years old, 20 something, I'm like, couldn't really relate. And we're like, there, you know, this is a blessing. It's another year. But honestly, I understand being in this place now. I understand the struggle that can come with it. And for me, it's so funny because it was like when I hit 35, I started thinking about aging. And to the point, that's when I really began. I've always been of the philosophy that you should be reactive instead of proactive.
Oh, proactive.
And so when I hit 35 and I realized I lived my life in like these 5 year gap, 5 year spans, right? So at 35, I was already thinking about 40. I'm like, oh, 40 is coming. And when I hit 40, I'm thinking, oh, 40, you know, and when I hit 45, I'm like, oh, 50 is coming. And so I always kind of try to make the adjustment at the point, like, okay, what do I need to be doing now to make sure that as I age, I am looking and feeling my best. And so I started around 35 with really getting very serious about my fitness goals and hitting it hard at the gym, and even deciding to go and get my certification as a personal trainer and all of that stuff. And I was feeling and looking my best. But that did not change the fact that my skin was looking crazy and it was just totally changing. And so it really became a challenge for me, honestly. And, you know, which leads me to the next question, which some of you already kind of shared some of the challenge within when you noticed that you were turning, you know, aging. And for me, again, it was 35. It was as young as 35 for me. And I just think that the earlier you can start thinking about that process, because it's happening from the time we're born.
Yeah.
Right. But society makes it like this big deal once you hit, you know, that 40, that 50 age mark, like, oh my God, it's over for you. And that is so far from the truth, you know? And so to me, though, if we think about the fact that we are aging, no matter what age we are, all the time, and we need to take care of ourselves and be the best we can be, then at any age, you're going to look and feel the best you can at that age. And that's really the goal, right? We're not going to look like we did at 20. However, I am a much better Tony now at 47 than I could have ever been at 20. So I will keep this Tony all day long and never want to give it up because my skin was like perfect at 20. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so what are some of the challenges, like really, really hardcore, maybe that you haven't even voiced about this process that you had or have?
Mm.
Let's start with Nicole.
The challenges that I have with aging at this point, I think part of it is because when you've ingrained yourself in something, when you've built a habit or a lifestyle for so long, sometimes making that switch is so it's deeper than just your willpower. You know, it's really rewriting those imprints in your brain. You know, you really have to do some serious intentional work to make some long life changes. Because when you think about, I mean, just think about it. You know, you've spent half of your life going in one direction, and now you have to do a total 180 and go in a totally different direction. So in your mind, you almost trick yourself where it's like, now I've got to go 50 more years,
Right.
you know, like almost like there's not a redemption of time, you know, because I think you feel like there's so much that's going to be lost in this new, you know, journey or this new way of doing things where you feel like you can't make up the difference, you know. But I mean, that's when you really have to rely on God, because he does help you redeem the time. So if you can get yourself in a mind, it's your mind that you really have to change. If we can change our mindset, seriously change. I don't mean just fake changing our mindset like for a few days or weeks or so, but I mean really rewriting the imprints of our mind into another way of thinking, we will absolutely revolutionize our lives in a way that we could have never imagined. Living bigger, harder, more intentional, more purposeful, and actually with more increase than we probably could have ever thought. It's just getting past that window of change, which is tough.
Yeah, the conditioned mindset is definitely a struggle, because the longer you've been a certain way, the harder it is to change the way you've been, you know?
Yes.
And so, yes, I would agree that that is probably one of the hardest things to challenges we have as we mature, is not being stuck in our ways. And I think Elaine alluded to it when she said we have to constantly be learning. And I
Yes.
think that helps, because if you are constantly learning, then you're constantly evolving. And if you're constantly evolving, then you can't remain the same,
Right.
right? That helps you to make the change. And so that is definitely one of the challenges that we have to face when it comes to aging, is not being stuck in our ways and being willing to evolve from where we are. That's awesome, Nicole. What about you, Christy? What are some of the challenges you find with this age group?
One of the things that I've noticed recently, like I'm a pretty strong person, and I've noticed my strength has gone way down. And it was kind of like all of a sudden. It wasn't something that was gradual to me. It was something like all of a sudden carrying 2 cases of water felt like, uh-oh, I'm not gonna make it up the stairs. Like it was like all of a sudden, like something that was some easy before strength-wise was so much harder. Push-ups, why are my joints hurting? You know what I mean? Like this is like a new revelation to me where, okay, I'm 50 on the way to 51 pretty quickly. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, so I still feel like I'm in the twilight zone a little bit about,
Happen
'cause
like
I
an out of
never,
body experience.
yeah, like I never expected this to happen at 50.
Right.
Honestly, I really thought 70, honestly, to be honest, I thought maybe 70 I'd start feeling older, but not at 50. And
Right.
then what makes me and the other challenge is I never thought about mortality. Like some people think about aging and dying all the time. And it's something that's not something that even entered my mind.
Right.
But, just now at 50, I'm thinking, wait a minute, my parents are only like 25 years older than me. Like,
Mm,
and I'm like, hold up. So
right.
that's like, I mean, and honestly, what it triggers in me is, okay, I have, I have to be about my business and complete my assignment and what God has created me to do on this earth right now. Like there's no more excuses, no more hesitating, no more waiting. And so I think that there's just a aha moment of what your life is meant, like how God created you to be and what he called you to do. And there's an accountability that comes with the age that, oh, I can't be messing around anymore.
Right. That's so good. Two things you said. Definitely, I agree with the loss of strength. Just that time that the pandemic where gym was shut down, couldn't go to the gym. So, I'm here. I was pushing on a sleigh of a hack machine, like 540 pounds pre-pandemic, right? And then you can't go to the gym. So, if you're not continuing, you are unfortunately reversing. And I've been back in the gym now. They reopened like June of 2020, and I still can't get back to where I left off. And I'm like, wow.
Wow.
Just in that little time off, it just totally it felt like it took me up years back. And so that's really interesting. I'm still trying to build myself back up to that same strength. Another thing that you said that I find very prevalent amongst our age group is that anxiousness, that somewhat fear, like, oh my God, I only have a certain amount of time left. And will I be able to get done, which is one of my challenges as well. Will I be able to get done all the things, the dreams, the aspirations, the things that I've seen and desire and want to do? Do I have the time to actually accomplish this? But there's a thought that came to me in even thinking that way. And that was, honestly, the last 50 years of my life has not been really 50 years of adulthood, right? Like this, I was an infant, like I didn't really come into being an adult maybe 25 years ago, right? And so really where I am is from like maybe 25 to now, so 25 years.
Right.
And the wisdom that I have now, it will not take me 25 years to get to what's destined for me.
So good.
So I think it's just important for us to know that it's not going to take the same amount of time it took you to get to 50 to get to what God has for you.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely not.
So good.
Elaine, how about you? What has been your challenge?
Well, I think for me, and I wanted to just make a comment on the gray hair, I like to call them wisdom highlights.
Oh, nice.
And it's been good because I have blonde hair and
That's what I'm gonna say. They look really good in blonde hair.
um, but I think that wisdom is really important. I'm a totally different person than I was 5 years ago. My second marriage was it is beautiful and wonderful, and I'm incredibly grateful, but it was not without challenges with his children and just normal blended family stuff. And I can remember we went to a therapist for before we got married, and I was like, I don't know people who behave this way. This is like, I'm so out of my league, and most of my friends were just like me. We focused on our career. We didn't have children, so it was like this whole different world. And I almost, it was tricky because I also, without knowing, was being triggered from my own childhood stuff. And that's not something that I ever thought about before. I didn't understand why this was triggering me so much. And so at 47, I went and did the Hoffman Institute, which is one of the most intense experiences I've ever had. But it's a 7-day retreat where you're in it, and you look at all of these different things. And for me, I didn't realize that I had been holding on to so many resentments, and I didn't know how to forgive.
Wow.
And so, for the past couple years, it's been, I'm a grown woman. I can't just continue to blame my mother for everything.
Right.
Come on now.
Right. That's so good.
And so, kind of recognizing my own part in things and being okay with saying, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize I made you feel that way, or I didn't realize I was coming across that way, and really kind of listening more. I was trying to prove myself for so long, so getting to a place of like being able to say, I need help, and I'm not perfect, and really recognizing my part in things.
Awesome.
And I really quickly, when I turned 50, I was thinking about, I was 28 years old when my mother was 50. And I've just started to learn this stuff.
Wow.
So giving her a little bit of grace for, being a very young mother who had her own childhood stuff,
Right.
and just recognizing that we are all doing the best we can
Yeah.
with the tools we have.
Yeah.
And, I think that God does have a plan for all of us, and things happen. I don't know that things happen for a reason. I think things happen and we have to deal with them. But I do think that there is a plan. I think we all come into our lives with a special gift. And so for me, it's been really learning how to let go and let God, and forgiveness. And it's something I still have to work on. It's been one of the hardest lessons.
That's really good. I'm glad you touched on that, because a lot of times we think of challenges when it comes to aging, and we think of them physically. But there's a lot of challenges that come emotionally
and
spiritually, right? And so it's funny because a lot of times if you don't voice those are the things you can kind of hide, and no one really knows that they're happening in your life, or that you're having those challenges, until there's some kind of breakdown, because we have not been dealing with them. And so it is so important that I believe that by the time we get to this age group, that if you haven't already done that inner work, it is so vital to the next 50 years and what it's going to look like, what your aging process is going to be like, because where you are emotionally is going to affect how you change. It's resentment and forgiveness is rottenness to the bones.
Mhm.
And so it will literally cause physical change to your body. It's linked to arthritis. So it is so important that as we are aging, and by the time you get to this stage, that you're really being very intentional in thinking about your whole well-being, right? Every part of who you are in life, and are you living it the best you can, spiritually, emotionally, physically, relationally, financially, in every way. So I think that's really, really really good, what you shared, Elaine, on your challenges being, dealing with your past and moving forward and being able to forgive and let go, so that you can truly move into the fullness of who you are right now and live out the rest of your life with purpose and intention and love and joy and peace. Hallelujah to that. Because at this stage in my life, that is all that I'm interested in, is that kind of life. And so I feel like, Nicole, did we share your challenges?
Yeah.
You were
Mhm.
first, right?
I was first, yes.
I feel like with all of the that we've shared so far, I would love for us to just talk about what are some of the things that you have done in this process that you feel really help, to either increase your mood, to help you to deal with the menopausal issue or challenges you've had with the skin issues and whatever the challenges were. I know Elaine shared, the Hoffman retreat and how that helped in her challenges. But what are some of the things, tools, and techniques that you have used to really help you overcome some of these challenges? We'll begin back with you, Elaine.
Well, I think for me, just recognizing that asking for help and communicating effectively is actually a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yeah, that is.
And again, I was just trying to prove myself for so long, and then to enter a marriage with a man who thought I was perfect just the way I was.
Awesome.
You know, I almost didn't know how to take it. And one of the things that I learned is he's actually taught me how to love myself. I mean, it may have looked like I had all the things and I had all that, but I didn't like myself very much. And that's why I just worked so hard and I steamrolled people. And I wasn't a good listener. And, so I think that made a really big difference, because I felt safe in being able to say, I'm really sad today, or I didn't like how that made me feel, and not in a defensive way.
Right.
But, and what I've learned is the relationships that really matter, someone wants to hear if they hurt your feelings. They want to hear, how can we do this better? And that's actually a sign of a grown-up,
Yeah.
So, and if I have a problem with someone, going to them and just saying, can we have a conversation? And for me, that took a lot of courage, because I didn't know how to do it, because I wasn't allowed to have my feelings when I was a kid. And so I brought so much stuff with me into adulthood that was not healthy. But I didn't know any other way.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of really good role models. My mother gave my father the silent treatment and did that. You know what I mean? I didn't know.
Right.
And so yeah, just that work on yourself, and you have a little more financial freedom and creative freedom and whatever at this age, to be able to
Do the work.
that stuff. And I think it's important.
Absolutely. Great one. How about you, Chris?
Thank you so much for sharing. That's so good. Just because so many women, I think, bring so much into their adulthood and they're just totally unaware. I think the biggest and greatest thing that I've done since I've between 45 and 50 is say no. I think, being a recovered people pleaser, it's like you just try to do everything for everybody. And, I think so saying no has been so powerful. And, it was very difficult in the beginning, it's getting so much easier to say no without feeling guilty. So without shrinking, without, like, and to really stand boldly and proudly in who you are and not apologize for it, has been, really life-changing in kind of the way I show up to me. Not, I don't even know how it is to other people, but to me, feeling from the inside out, it feels very, very powerful. And I think also, I think the piece of, I've always kind of eaten pretty okay and enjoyed exercising. And so that wasn't the biggest thing, but I think really accepting me for me and where I am, not wanting to be where I was when I was 20 and, or 25, 30 even, but just really learning to love the skin and the space that I'm in and celebrate it, even though it may not be where I want to be, but really recognizing that it's part of the journey, it's part of the process and the cycle, and really embrace all aspects of it. And it really is, it's freedom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so true. How about you, Nicole?
I agree that both of those were very, very good. For me, it was finding my voice. For me, it was learning how to give myself permission, something that I did not do for a long time. And I just, remembered how I was before I got married and just the type of woman that I was, how I engaged life, and just how much of myself just sort of ebbed away over those years. And it was just so necessary for me, at this time and in this space, to really get my voice back and be able to have those conversations that Elaine is talking about, and being able to say, I really didn't like how you made me feel, or how that made me feel when you said that. Not holding those things in, and remaining stuck in that way. So for me, it was really about finding my voice and how to engage life at this stage where I am, and not being ashamed of where I've been, but being able to speak to that with peace.
So good. That's very good. And I agree, with all that what you guys were sharing. It's awesome, awesome, just tools and mindsets to develop. I think that just automatically develop with this age group. For me personally, some of the things that I've been, like I said, started at 35 in that
Mhm.
mindset that, okay, I'm not getting any younger. I need to make sure that the things that I'm doing with myself are going to help me in this process. And so for me, it was, taking better care of my skin, you know, using products that I knew that were going to help with the signs of aging, that I was seeing that was really uncomfortable for me and I wasn't liking it, but at the same time, not jeopardizing my health to do so. Because let me tell you, that industry between the plastic surgery and the toxic products to look younger, you've all seen the catastrophes that come from that. And so not, making sure that I'm getting what I needed and feeling good in the skin I'm in, but also not jeopardizing my well-being was something that was really important to me when I got introduced to Beauty Counter and started using those products. And of course, I continue every single day to work out, even though I feel the difference in my strength level, even though I still feel some aches and pains and things that are not the way they were, I still continue to move because exercise is truly the fountain of youth. And so a lot of people tend to think, oh, I'm hurting, I'm not going to move, I'm not going to do anything. That's absolutely the worst thing that you can do. You want to keep moving. So I'm very conscious to constantly keep moving, as well as, one of the things that I've been doing that to really help me in the challenges of aging, especially when it comes to the emotional challenges and things that you think that society has so instilled and impressed upon our thinking, especially when it comes to your ability to progress and still conquer and have your dreams at a certain age. those things for me right now, how I overcome that challenge is really making sure that I'm in a community and I'm surrounded by people that encourage me, and that don't see or think old. Like a lot of times I will hang around younger people, I will get involved in conversation, and I like to, build relationships with people that are much younger than me, because I feel like they keep you fresh, they keep you sharp. You know what's going on. Like in this time where technology is taking off like a rocket ship, you gotta hold on to the youth coattail. Like, hold up, I'm coming with you. What's that you doing over there? Show me what that is. To kind of stay in the end. So I have a generational Z daughter, and I am constantly in her like, what's that? How you do that? So I'm constantly making sure that I challenge those thoughts of becoming old by really being around people that make me feel young, and I can embrace their youth as my own. So I'm with you, Nicole. I'm like, let my kids think I'm 30 forever. And so those are some of the things that I as well do. And the mindset piece, I live on renewing my mindset. It's not something that you do. It's not a short little time, like you said. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Where we are constantly making sure that our thoughts are thoughts that are going to serve the life that we want to live. That is something you have to do on a consistent basis. And I'm very, very mindful to do that as I continue to age and grow. And I just feel like, honestly, I don't believe in old, because I believe I'm a spiritual being. And I know that as a spiritual being, I'm eternal.
Yeah.
Spiritual things last forever. So how could I get old?
Yeah.
What is 80 what is 80 compared to eternity?
Right.
Very young.
The millisecond.
Really young.
Yes.
Right. And so I just don't embrace that mindset. I believe it is a mindset. I believe old is a mindset, and I just don't embrace that. And so I just choose to really address my attitude around the things that I see happening, because change is inevitable. We're all changing. We're all getting older. I don't care what age you are, but it's how you embrace life and your attitude around life that's going to make it a beautiful thing, a joyous thing, or a thing that is just miserable. And so I have this new saying: I'm not just growing old gracefully or aging gracefully, I'm aging joyfully. And meaning I'm going to choose to enjoy this journey and this process that I'm going through, and I'm going to slay doing it.
Well,
I remember when I used to be at the counter, at the cosmetic counter. What was the most, it's so weird to me. And I'm like, wow, you never know why you feel or think the things you think and what it could be attached to later on in life, right? Because here I am doing this slaying at 50. But when I was like 20 something, 30, at the cosmetic counter doing makeup and all this stuff for women that were much older than me at that time, I was like in awe of my older clients, especially the ones that came in there like well put together. There was just such a class and a grace about them that was just like, wow, to me. Because I feel, to me, like when you're young, that's a given, right? Like what when I see people that's young and they're not put together, I'm like, what's going on with you? Something is not right. But when you see a woman that is together, you know that it's more than her physical. You know that she's exuding a confidence and a wisdom that enhances that beauty to a whole nother level. It has nothing to even do with the aesthetics as much, right? And I used to look at them and think, I want to be just like that when I grow up. When I get older, I'm going to be just like that. And so it's so funny to me to be sitting here now, probably if I go to cosmetic counter, I'll be considered one of those women, to be having this conversation in the sense that, it's my time to be that gracious, powerful woman that ages with royalty and holds her head up high and slays. And to be an example for my younger sisters to also embrace this aging process. So I am so excited about what God is going to do with the Slaying at 50 journey. And so in closing of our conversation, I'm so enjoying you ladies. Share with us, what do you absolutely love about being 45 to 55 years old? Let's start with Nicole.
Okay, yay. What do I love about this age? I think this age has given me the opportunity, I think, to be a little more sassy than I was when I was younger. I think it's just one of those things where you just feel sexy in your own skin. I mean, I may not be the shape I want to be right now, but I know how to get there. So it's just about doing it.
Mhm.
But I think there's just a confidence that comes with this age sometimes. And it's just changing yourself up, being able to do some things without asking anyone else's permission, and just enjoying um feeling good about yourself. 50 is that time where, again, I think Elaine said it. I'm not sure who said it, but it's like you are really not interested in whether people like you or not, or whether they're feeling your vibe or whatever the case may be. It's like, if you like me, cool. If you don't, cool. It's it's okay. I think the one thing about this age is that I'm beginning, because I'm single again right now, and so I'm looking in a way where it's like, okay, like, who's feeling you, who's not. Like, you can't be calling me ma'am right now. Like, that's offensive to me now. So I was out and someone was like, oh, excuse me, ma'am. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not gonna be ma'am. No, 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 no. Because I just have that spark of life again. And that's what I'm enjoying about this age. It's like I'm beginning again for me. So it's exciting.
That is so funny. Awesome. How about you, Elaine?
Well,
What do
I
you
believe that
love?
we're all just souls having a human experience. And I've been thinking about this a little bit lately, that if you believe that we choose to come here and that our soul has a purpose, I think it's interesting that we're all here right now, because it's such a critical time for the world. And learning the lessons that we've learned over the past however many years, to be able to be a light.
Yes. Yep. That's so good. And there's nothing more important than that at all. How about you?
I'm excited about what's going to happen next. I am, because I think that our age group in particular we're kind of realizing that we are powerful.
Mhm.
And just to see where that goes. And I don't want to make this political, but it is incredibly exciting that we have, a female vice president now.
Mhm.
And I think that there's a lot of shifts happening, and I think that women are going to take on an entirely different kind of role than they ever have before.
Yes, yes, it's our time to shine.
I
Yes.
agree 100%, Elaine and Nicole. They took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I just think that my favorite thing about being 50 is, like you said, Nicole, like a little sassiness, where you will say something what you really, like, those your grandparents, they say exactly what they think with no filter. So I think, like, not having a filter, whereas before it was total filter. So now getting comfortable with speaking my truth in love, and, matter of factly, without kind of easing into it or shrinking away from it, is so powerful. So I think my favorite thing is really the power and authority that I believe God gave me from birth is now coming to really now manifesting in everything that I see and think and do and express. And so that has been my very favorite thing.
That's so good. The way you put that was really good, because that's why I say we don't have to worry about where we're going, taking as long as where we come from. Because once you come into the revelation and into the knowledge and into the light of who you are, it's but a moment before you'll see everything around you begin to shift and change. And so I think one of the things, if I had to pick one, there's many things, but what I love about this stage of my life is the wisdom and the confidence that I have in who I am. That, not that insecureness, not that unsureness, not knowing where I'm going, what I want to do, but being very confident and sure about who I am, first and foremost, in God, who He's created me to be, and where He has me going is a really good place to be after many years of different ups, downs, and trying to figure it out. So that's been really good. And just the wisdom, just knowing better, like never before, and being sure of what I know. And so those two things have been really, really good for me. I don't know if I can say the sassiness, because I've been told I've been sassy all my life.
Right. Yes.
So I've learned how to
We're
be.
coming over to your side.
I've learned how to be. I now can put some grace on my sass. So I'm evolving
Right.
into knowing how to respond without being so cut you up. So
Yes.
part of
I
my,
love it.
that's so funny. But yes, just
Yes,
really.
we're putting some sass to our grace. You putting some grace to your sass.
Exactly. Exactly. See, God has a way of, when you get to a certain age, balancing some things
That's
out.
right. That's right.
It's not that you have to change completely who you are. It's just you have to know how to, deliver who you are in a way that
Yes.
you receive it
Yes.
in love, because you really do want it to be expressed in love. So
Right,
that
for
is
sure.
funny. But yes, that is really the biggest thing for me. It's just the wisdom that I have at this stage in my life, and how grateful I am to have it, because it's a saying, right? There's no worse food than the old food.
True
Right.
that.
So it really is a blessing to have the wisdom and the experiences that I've had and what they have taught me, and how that now is able to shape the future that I live in such a more productive and beautiful way.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about this next stage of my life and what God has for me. I'm telling you, I am bursting at the seams. I'm very excited about what this community will do for so many women, because I agree with you, Elaine, this is our time. And I believe that this is our time for women in particular, and especially women within our age group who has been there, who has done that, who know better, and are ready to make an impact and a change in this world. And so I'm so excited to know you, beautiful souls, to be connected to you all, that you took your time today to talk with me about this topic. And I know that everything that each of you shared tonight is really going to be a blessing to some awesome, beautiful, powerful woman that is ready to take back her life, her body, and her sexy. So thank you all for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.